I'm Peggy Hurson.
And I'm Scott Clark.
And this is From the Coffee Shop. We are here today. It's August 18th. We are at Zola's Cafe in Auburn. I almost said Redmond. I have Redmond on the brain.
Yeah.
And we're here today with my brother, Rick Entrop.
Hey there again, listeners.
Rick has joined us again today and probably will a bunch of times in the future, so you're stuck with him.
Like it or not.
Totally. Yeah, Zola's is pretty cool. I got a pumpkin muffin, and I have not even started to eat it yet.
Pumpkin.
But, yeah, I know. I love all pumpkin things.
I don't mind it. I just don't like the pie.
Really?
Can't stand it. Nope.
Why?
No.
That
just
is
can't
so
do it. I tried
wrong.
it. I don't know.
You tried it?
I've had it
once?
I've several. I've given it.
I was gonna say.
I even had
That's fine. You don't have to like it.
It was a pumpkin cheesecake pecan thingy.
Oh my god, that sounds so good.
It was
delicious.
It was great, except for the pumpkin pie part. I just could not get around it. It's the nutmeg, I think, and too much cinnamon. I don't know. It's just
so
that
maybe
blended.
it's nutmeg and cinnamon that you don't like.
It could be. I don't know. It's a texture thing for me too.
Oh yeah, it does have a very specific texture.
It does. No,
I reject pumpkin as an only fall flavor as well, because I think they should have pumpkin lattes year round. Because I would order them year round.
I've had beer, pumpkin beer.
Pumpkin beer is great.
That
totally
was amazing. I've had pumpkin curries.
Oh, I've never had that, but I want it.
Good. It's very good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah. I've had pumpkin soup.
Donuts, muffins, bread.
Yep.
Pumpkin bread
Pie.
is the best.
Totally.
I love pumpkin bread.
And that was my only relation to pumpkin before, was other than Halloween and the pie. I didn't know about all the rest of the foods, and I thought, did they come about making a pie out of that pumpkin? I'm like, that must have been one hungry person, because I would have never thought, here's this big orange gourd.
But you're a weirdo for that, because pumpkin pie is the best pie. By far.
Yeah,
if I'm going to pick a pie, maybe apple, but
Banana
apple is
cream.
really?
Sorry. Oh yeah.
See, if I was going cream pie, I'd go coconut cream pie, which I'm getting a high five from my sister-in-law, Alex, who's like, yes, coconut cream, but banana cream is really solid. That's a good pie.
We actually, the town we live in now, we would drive to it just to go visit a friend, because there was a store in the town that had made a banana cream pie, and that was our excuse to go see my buddy. Well, let's go see Tony, and let's stop and get a banana cream pie. So that was that's a pie.
Nice.
As pies go, I would take a pie any day over cake. I'm like,
for sure.
I'm kind of like Adam in that way.
Yeah,
it's like just cake is. Yeah.
Well, and his deal is, because Rick doesn't listen to Adam Carolla.
No, I like the guy. I wish I did.
Right, but you just don't know he has these podcast subjects, and his pie versus cake thing is legendary.
Okay. You take the same amount of dollars.
Yeah, $5, go out and get the best cake you can get the best pie you can get. The pie will always win, which is totally true.
Yeah. You
can get a good pie for $5.
You can get the Hostess hand pies,
and they're better than those cupcake things, for sure.
Toss a Twinkie out the window. I'll take a Hostess pie.
Can you have quiche cake, or can you have
quiche?
Pot pie cake? No.
Pot pie cake?
No.
So, pot pie
is a lot more versable too.
Yeah.
But you can't have pot cake. I guess you can, but
pot cake.
Not from vegetables and stew stuff.
Edibles.
Stew stuff.
That is probably the saving grace to cake, is that you can make pot.
You can make pot with it. I bet you can make a pot pie if you really, like a weed pie, if you really.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you don't even really have to try that hard.
It would be the quiche, in quotation point.
Or in the crust. Just put whatever butter you put in the crust, you got it.
Yeah. But if my favorite pie is pumpkin. There's any day of the week, all year round, if you give me a piece of pumpkin pie, I'm like, oh my gosh, pumpkin pie.
Mine's pecan.
Really?
Pecan pie. Yeah. And I
love pecan pie, but it's one of those every once in a while things.
I'll devour a whole one by myself. I will, and then I won't be able to fit into anything I own ever again. I'll have to go buy new clothes.
So if they had a pie eating contest and had pecan pie, you're in.
You'd be the guy.
Well, yeah, because I'd be the only one probably participating too. Yeah, because people are smart.
That'd be
and not
pretty heavy.
Yeah,
Heavy duty.
you'd stroke out. You'd stroke out from the amount of sugar that you ate. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but that's
so
mine.
funny.
That's mine. Actually, it's bought special for Thanksgiving, so I come over. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, a good pecan pie is amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of special pie, my wife makes me a banana cream pie on my birthday just about every year.
Aw, that's sweet.
Tender. Alex is like Alex is Rick's wife's name. Really good cook. She's here. She's part of our invisible audience today. No, but pretty much anything she makes, I'm like, oh, this is the best thing, whatever thing it is, like insert, like tacos. This is the best tacos I've ever had. Like,
Really?
Mashed potatoes. Oh my goodness, this is the best mashed potatoes.
We
She's the stuff. She knows how to
I'm a
like
lucky guy.
put the good stuff into.
yeah.
You can taste the love.
Yeah, that's the secret ingredient. Though.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's so good. So, but we got off on a tangent. I'm having a pumpkin muffin. Rick had, what was that sandwich you had?
that bagel sandwich with ham and egg, and it was
Ooh.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's a star
had to
for
eat some with
Zola.
my wife, so totally.
Yeah.
Really good. So they have like breakfast foods, and I'm having a coffee. And okay, so let's actually talk a little bit about coffee from the coffee shop.
How about it?
Sometimes people's iced coffee tastes soapy to me. Do you guys ever have this experience?
Well,
Anybody drink iced coffee?
I've noticed water is tasting kind of soapy lately too. Though.
Yeah.
Just if it's tap, so it could be the ice.
It could be the ice, but this is like a solid, delicious. It is technically an iced Americano, not
Yeah.
iced coffee. Because I think people do their cold brew bad. I just don't think they do it right. But this tastes awesome.
Yeah, it's good here.
It is good. How's
So
your mocha?
it's good. I'm kind of spoiled from the Mexicano one I had.
Ooh.
That's
That
right.
one was amazing. It's like now
Everyone's-
that bar has been set so high now, but it's
That was
good.
at the station?
Yeah, the station.
Yeah.
But this is good. This is really good.
They
I
did like a Mexican mocha with, what did it have in
It
it?
had Mexican
bunch of
chocolate. It
stuff.
had nutmeg and
Yeah.
Chilies. It was
That's
kind of
right.
spicy.
Okay.
And it was really
my
good.
gosh,
I
it's
was in love with this cup of coffee. I'm like, just
Hard to beat.
I love my coffee.
Aw,
yeah, it was
tender.
good.
I think I
Yeah.
saw someone making that on one of the cooking shows my wife watches. And I can't remember which one. It wasn't Paula Deen because she's not on anymore. But
Yeah, she got the heave-ho, huh?
oh, I think so. Yeah, she'll make a comeback though.
Oh, for sure.
She'll Martha Stewart it.
As quick as we are to go, oh no, you said something everybody's upset by, you're immediately fired from everything.
yeah.
We are that quick to forget about it and move on, and then the people.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
they'll just hire another racist.
right.
But you don't see Michael Richards much still anymore.
No,
though. He
Michael
kinda-
Richards, but he was like one of the early of what I consider the era of like crucified by what you say.
Okay.
Which to me as a like especially Michael Richards. I mean that the video of that is really like, whoa, he is like having a nervous breakdown right now.
It's way out of context though.
Oh,
What was the
yeah.
build up to that is my question.
I have no idea.
He was
But
being heckled.
as
right now.
yeah, and he wigged out, but like to me, I'm like, I'm really uncomfortable living in a world where you don't have to do anything, but if you say something that offends someone, that says something about you as a person. Just because to me, it's like, well, then, like.
Right.
Then there's all this racism out there that nobody's saying anything about, and like the fact that we're not saying anything about it isn't necessarily positive, you know?
Right.
It just to me the more like people are afraid to say words, the worse our society is.
That
You
is
know?
almost like the hidden racism right there too. It's
Yeah.
it's quiet. It's you know.
And
I-
comedians in particular, I
You-
think, should be free to go out and bring those subjects up because it is how we hold a mirror up to society in a way. And some people are going to do it in a positive way and a negative way, like the rape joke phenomenon, where, like, take a movie like, have you guys seen This Is the End? Neither of you saw it?
No.
There's a scene in it that is an extended rape joke that is, like, so funny and sensitive toward women, because the joke is essentially, spoiler alert, they are talking, like a woman shows up at, it's you know, Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, James Franco, and they're Danny McBride, and they're all in an apocalypse.
Oh, right.
Is it still in the theaters?
Yeah. It's
It is still in the theaters. It's really good. And then a woman shows up, and they're like, they welcome her into their little, like, bunker. And then they're having a conversation where they're like, okay, there's, like, 6 dudes here and a lady, so we need to, like, not make her uncomfortable. And, like, and then Danny McBride's like, why is everyone looking at me? And then they're like, well, if someone was gonna rape her, Danny. And he's like, why would it be me? You would rape her. And they're talking about, like, trying to not make this woman uncomfortable. And then she overhears them, and she thinks they're talking about raping her. And it's so funny, because they're like, no, we were talking about not raping
I
you.
can see how they're talking too. They're probably doing it in the hush-hush voice, but loud enough to her she can hear.
So, like, it's really funny to me, and it brings up a subject that's like, if I was in an apocalypse and in a house with 6 guys, that might be something that would be a concern. And, like, so it's like reflecting something interesting, but it was really daring, I think, because, like, what's his name? Jeselnik. Was it Anthony
Jeselnik? Yeah.
Got in big trouble recently for doing a rape joke that wasn't, he did it in a way that was, like, kind of threatening to rape a woman, which it was bad.
That's his whole thing. If you're going to Anthony Jeselnik for questionable content, holy cow!
Oh,
right,
totally.
It's not like he's like Robin Williams or something.
No, he's like the most skillful at insult humor, and
for sure.
And so there's like, to me, it's like, well, if you can't, if comedians are then afraid to talk about rape, then you don't get, like, the good side of it, where it's, like, kind of, like, bringing up a subject that's hard to talk about.
Right.
And it makes people uncomfortable, and making it something that you can then have a conversation about, which I think is a positive aspect of comedy.
It's all about the content and the context. It's context, not content. It's like what you're talking about doesn't have much to do as what your intent behind it is.
Right.
And I think we're in an era of content over context, where if you say this word, that means this
like
about
the word
you.
Retarded.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't we say that now? I mean,
it was at one point a medical term.
Yeah.
Sure.
So was stupid and idiot and moron.
And it's also a mechanical term too. If you got to advance a retarded engine.
Right.
Yeah. Or musically, like if music is retarding,
flame retarding.
And but the context is assumed to be negative.
Right.
Where you could say somebody is mentally retarded and mean it in a positive way, but you're
just being descriptive. You're trying to describe it. You're not judging it. I think that's the whole thing too. So when you get into a position of judgment of it, then you're wrong.
I read because in social work, there's this concept called person-first language. So instead of saying it's an autistic person, you say it's a person with autism. And it's this whole, like in social work, they put a big emphasis on it. But I read, so you're saying, like, oh, you're a person and you have this disease or this illness or this whatever. But I read an article written by a woman, I think in the UK, who is in a wheelchair. And she said that she doesn't like to be called a person with a disability. She likes to be called a disabled person, because she feels that puts her disability isn't with her. She is disabled by society. Like, we consider her to be disabled because we've decided what ability means.
Right.
And, like, if you don't have it, you are disabled. So she has ability because she can do lots of things. She just doesn't have what society considers to be the norm for ability. And her argument for it, like, she's a social scientist because it was really well thought out. But I was like, I really liked the article just because it was like, words are only what we think they mean. Like, words have no objective meaning. They only have meaning that we put into them. And so there is no right word and wrong word outside of context.
Yeah, it's the implied meaning and also the defined meaning, what you take it as. Like,
exactly.
Like, Rick could say something and I could take it totally different. And he could his meaning behind it was way over here.
Totally.
And then I take it way over here.
Yeah.
Out of the context.
Which is why I think that, like, the era of Paula Deen making a racist comment, I think that society has to share in blame for that because we've decided the context. And, like, a person who says something offensive and a person who is offended by something that is said, to me, have each a part in that. And if someone says something to me that I take with offense, I think it's my responsibility to either, like, go, oh, I'm going to let that person's words have power over me or not. Like,
Right.
I'm a fat person, and if someone says you're fat, then it's up to me to go, oh, I take that as offensive because I don't think you should tell me that I'm fat. But then, to me, I'm like, you know what? I have no control over what other people think. Like, I
Right.
can either hold on to that or I can let it go. And so to me, like, there's just this world of
Right.
like, we think everyone else has the responsibility to not offend us,
Right.
as opposed to
Taking
taking
offense.
responsibility for whether we are offended or not.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And to me, that's just my little, like, I'm observing things in the news going, like, that makes me really uncomfortable because I think... And then, like, with racism, it gets really, like, convoluted because clearly people... Like, the N-word is offensive to lots of people.
But it's used so nonchalantly a lot of times,
Yeah. I know, that's the thing.
too. Yeah, it's like... It's almost like, okay, the word cunt in the United States
love the word
is
cunt.
very harsh and
It's my favorite
jabbing
swear.
towards
It's
towards
so
towards
fun.
women, right? But I talked, like, when I was
Yeah.
overseas, the Australians use it. It's like almost like...
It's like
They
friend.
call-
Like,
yeah.
hey, cunt.
Yeah,
what's
well,
up?
you know, like that, and it's like, and it was kind of uncomfortable because that's how I was brought up. That's something that's, if you really want to hurt a woman, or just, and that's what you call her the last. That's like,
Totally.
Right.
you want to win a fight at
Yeah.
any cost. That's or you want to start a fight.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's the word you break out. But
Huh.
when I talk to my British friends and the Australian friends, and they're like,
You
I'm
can
gonna
start
Yeah.
a fight with the word buddy, though. Hey, buddy. You know,
buddy.
I mean,
That's
it's
true.
the inflection
it's,
too.
it's
but-
all the, it's your
Yeah.
intent behind the
But it's also you know the societal structure around the word too. Like
Totally.
here,
Yeah.
it's like that's the most taboo word you can say, even if you're joking. You know,
right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's the society that has given the power to that word, and because it's almost like money, where it's like people believe it's worth something, so that's
Right.
what they put their stock into.
That's totally true.
But that made me reminded me of the South Park episode where.
I love South
the
Park.
brum, 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 where they
Oh,
call
where they call the
them-
motorcyclists fags.
Yeah, see, I wasn't gonna say
They
the word.
redefine the word fag to
Yeah.
mean person who drives a loud motorcycle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you seen that South
No.
Park
Oh,
episode?
it's
great.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I'll have to YouTube it tonight.
Because then the kids are walking around like
For
calling
sure.
people
Well,
fags.
South Park Studios
Yeah, you can watch
puts them all
them.
up for free.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I think it's just fabulous.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I like the guys from South Park because they're
Oh, yeah. They're the
equal
fun.
opportunity offenders too. They're
yeah.
nobody is except for with maybe Scientology. I think they backed away from Scientology
no.
a little bit.
Well,
They-
maybe after going as deep
They've all-
into it as they could.
Yeah, they pretty much.
Yeah.
Because that's
killed
why
the
Isaac
subject.
Hayes quit.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing a quote by, I think it was
That's
Matt,
right. I watched that episode.
that was
but they
saying,
did-
well, apparently Isaac Hayes quit because they did an episode about Scientology, and Isaac Hayes is a Scientologist. And then I think it was Matt Stone who said, well, apparently he didn't, he said that we were treating religion like we were, targeting religion and being irreverent and all this stuff. And apparently it didn't bother him when we did it to the Catholics, the Mormons,
Oh,
the Muslims, and listed like 10 religions.
Yeah.
But when we did it to Scientology, it was no longer
as-
okay.
that's the line that was crossed.
Which that's actually,
Grabbed my fork. No,
Not-
it's fine. Oh, thanks.
I guess,
Sorry.
I don't know,
What?
You got
not very
derailed.
consistent. That's
No,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he was pointing that
So-
out because really, like,
Hypocritical, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know.
yeah, like
So-
because it's calling what is it? You can dish it, but you can't take
Right,
it.
Right.
Yeah,
Totally.
which a lot of people suffer from. But back to the original point. Thank you, Alex. Alex just got me a new fork. Like, I think if you, like, say Paula Deen, for example, because when the saying the N-word thing came up,
Right.
it was in the midst of investigating some things she did hiring-wise that were discriminatory.
Right.
And so there was some more context there than just the word, but nobody focused on the context. But really, like, she had, like she threw a party that was, like, black people in, like,
Yeah,
coats and tails playing almost the slave role and said some...
a plantation style wedding. Is
Yeah,
what she said.
and then she
But that was back when,
had
like,
some
70s
hiring.
or
Yeah,
80s,
it was
like-
a long time ago.
Yeah.
And, like, she had some hiring practices that people were accusing her of being discriminatory for. So to me, it's like, if you're going to be a racist, you have to actually, like, do some racist things. like you're a dick if you're saying racist things, but like I don't know. To
you
me,
don't
it's
have a
sticks and
certain
stones.
filter up while you're saying it.
Right.
I mean, everybody's not everybody's on their A game.
Yeah, and I don't think being racist is a black and white thing too. I think there's like everybody's gray. So like I just draw my line in a different place where I'm like, well, I've said lots of things that were shitty about people, so I don't know. I think we're like pointing the finger a little too much and at the wrong thing.
But like you were saying, I think people that are looking to be offended by it too. Oh man, like
totally.
They're just waiting for someone to call them the N-word or whatever to be offended, so they can now.
Well, there's whole websites. Like I'm a big feminist, like a crazy big feminist. But Jezebel is a website that is a feminist blog. And all it does is scour the internet for things to be pissed off about. And so if you read it, it's like, oh no, this person said this one thing, and it was like not good for women. And oh no, this person said this thing. It is literally seeking out things to be bothered by. And to me, like I had to kind of stop because I was like, it's like, not everybody is super pro-woman.
Right.
Now I'm going to move on and do some positive things instead of sitting back and being like, I'm so pissed off because there are men who say stupid shit.
Well, what you do is
there's lots of people.
You give them traction by giving that energy to them, too.
That's
know what I mean?
so true.
So it's like you do more harm than good when you actually get mad about something. You just move on.
It's like there are whole activist groups that troll Twitter to start arguments with people. Like one, for example, that I know is my friend Autumn does a lot of like pro-choice activism.
Right.
There are groups that just go on Twitter and find pro-lifers and argue with them on Twitter. And to me, that makes no sense at all.
It's counterproductive to
If
me.
anything, you are drawing attention to people who are making like pro-life arguments on Twitter. Like Twitter currency is attention.
Right.
And so why draw more attention to something that you are trying to fight against? It makes no sense. Yeah. Anyway.
Because it's about the fight. It's about someone wanting to feel superior than someone else.
Yeah.
And if you're a dude, then dudes are superior. If you're a white dude, then white dudes are superior. Because that's what you are.
Yeah, and then you try to go like, oh, you're wrong and I'm right.
Right. But it doesn't matter as long as there's someone else that's lesser than.
Right.
And that's just I think what perpetuates that. I don't believe that. I think we're all, pretty much the same, organic matter, decaying organicness, the Fight Club term. I don't know. You're not a unique flowing snowflake or whatever.
Well, I had a class in college that was a terrible, terrible class. But it was like a diversity class in my social work school. That was a weird way to say that. But I always remembered the definition. We had this whole discussion about like what the definition of racism was. And the teacher was like, here's how it's defined sociologically. It's the belief that someone's race says something meaningful about their ability, their intelligence, their, whatever, like whether you can tell something about that person through their race.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I never thought about that, but it's really true. Like, and do I think that? No. I think really your ability and your intelligence and all this kind of stuff have more to do with like your education and your socioeconomic level and your the culture you grow up in than your race.
Right.
And so, I don't know, it's just interesting to me. But some people really believe that it's like if you are this race, you're better at certain things or worse at certain things. And like that's
so why did
it's interesting.
I was watching something about after World War II, or actually during World War II, where they rounded up everybody that was Japanese and put them in camps. It's like I think that was the same sort of belief. It's like you're Japanese, so therefore you're going to naturally want to come out against us. Even though you were born here, you were raised here, you speak like us, you do everything like us.
Totally. You were invested in our success.
Yes. But they still believed that race had something to do with that. But that was their...
Yeah.
George Takei speaks like that. He talks about his internment.
It's Sulu on...
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
That I think he was a small child when his parents were in the internment camps and they took all their property.
Yeah, that would just...
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
The Puyallup Fairgrounds is actually an old...
Are you serious?
Wow.
That's crazy.
That was
Puyallup, huh?
Yeah. Not a lot of people knew that.
Wow.
That's like a dirty history fact about fairgrounds.
I was
Totally.
went to California. Everybody went to California, not
Well, I know a lot of it.
yeah.
Washington.
Totally. Anyway, it's just
It
really
was a dark day.
totally. But I try to check myself a lot because there are certain things that I assume culturally about people. Like people will tell me a story. Like for example, Autumn, my friend, was telling me she was walking down the street and a guy in a cab pulled up next to her and started beeping at her, just light beeps. And she kind of waved him off, and then he followed her really slowly down the street and rolled down the window. Was like, "Hey, do you need a ride?" And she was like, "No, I don't need a ride." And he followed her down the street. I said, "Was he West African?" And she said, "He was." And I was like, "That's what they do in West Africa. Every single cab in West Africa did that."
They troll for fares.
And then I was like, "Well, that was a little bit racist." But it was also my experience with the culture.
It's what they do in the culture,
Right.
like I guess on that subject, people that slurp their food from certain areas of the country. I don't know
It's just it's everywhere. That's the thing. We all our minds are set up to categorize things. It is literally the way our brains work. Is we're like, you're a girl, you're a boy, and that's why transgender people make people so uncomfortable because they're trying to categorize and they can't. I really don't think it's necessarily people's problem with the lack of category. It's your brain struggling to find a category so you can stop focusing on something.
So you can identify.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. Yeah. That's why we love labels. That's why we love clear-cut things. Our brains are literally designed to do that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we have now talked for about a half hour on nothing on my
That
list.
is awesome.
I know.
That's
I'm
cool.
sorry. We got on.
That's
I have
good.
so much to say about sociological things. But I wanted to give an update on our podcast. SoundCloud finally got us RSS feed this week, and so now we are available on iTunes.
Oh
Hooray!
man, you should have seen me. I was dancing. I was at home Friday, and I couldn't stop searching. Every 10 minutes, I'd go to iTunes and say, "Up yet? Is it up yet?" And then I seen it, and I almost passed through it because I didn't expect it. I was so used to not seeing it, and it's the very first icon on top of the podcast. So it's in the podcast app. If you have iTunes.
You just have to search from the coffee shop, and it will immediately come up.
Right on top.
Totally. We're working on getting a new logo that Rick's helping us with, so it's going to look prettier soon. And right now the only episode available is this one and episode 9. But hopefully SoundCloud will RSS feed all the previous episodes so that if you're an iTunes subscriber, you'll be able to go back to episode 1,
archive,
and get everything.
Yeah.
And we're on YouTube now. If you actually Google From the Coffee Shop, our YouTube videos come up pretty much right away. And so if you're, I think YouTube is helpful also, if I'm at work, I can access YouTube, but I can't necessarily.
We also
look
come
at
up
my
as suggested content
iTunes.
too, as well too. So I've had it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, we're starting to get a little traction. People are listening. I actually have had my first weird week where people have started coming up to me and going so on the podcast. And, not strangers, but people in my life.
Fanboys.
I got a picture drawn. No. But it's a little bit weird.
I have had total opposite. I find myself digging and saying, have you listened? Have you listened? Have you listened? And they'll say yes. And now, what? Tell me. I've got such an empty hole. I got. Yes, I do. And I'm like, how come you guys don't say anything on our Facebook page? I don't know. And it's mainly because I grew up in a family where just a lot of kudos wasn't given towards anything.
Okay.
It's there was no attaboys or given. It's just it's and I'm I know we're doing this because it's enjoyable. That in itself is fulfilling.
That surprises me that you say that, because your mom was in here once and your aunt was in here, and your family just seems like they're the most pat you on the back people they could possibly be.
Right here when they're out front. But it's they don't come out of the woodwork and say, "Hey, way to go," or "We listened," or there's no.
Not a attaboys.
You got to fish for it. You really got to fish for it. If I go to a family, we have a lot of birthdays in my family, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
not a word said. Usually not. Yeah, it's usually my aunt says it, or I have to bring it up.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Is there a lot of negative things brought up on the opposite end, or like it's sort of just nothing's being brought up, or is it a
It's
negative
nothing.
focus, or nothing?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's a very
Well,
Adam. I feel like
So
Adam
the
Carolla, it's
upside
like-
is no one points out your faults.
Well, hey, there's very good.
But-
In
I
our
mean, I'd
family, we've got a little bit of
would-
the
even if they
you
got
get
angry
more
and
shit for the
hate it,
bad stuff.
I'd rather because
Okay,
then
so
I would
something
know
like
they're
that.
because if they're mad at you all continuously because I know
Okay.
they listened last week. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
they're mad about, but there's usually nothing. It's Kanita is probably right now the biggest promoter in my corner,
Oh,
and
nice.
she's usually not very vocal about much. She doesn't talk about stuff, and we did have a little bit of almost like an argument because I said we were going to be on iTunes and we weren't on iTunes yet. So she was telling people she works with, oh, they're on iTunes. I was like, no, not yet. We're working on that. It's and then she's just like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with it now.
She quit.
She's
She
laughing.
can't
She's
quit.
laughing because it's true. But now we're up. But I was like,
Yeah,
okay. and
it was like a 4-day process of like we're almost up, but then and part of it was SoundCloud was having uploading issues with the
Yeah.
images, and that was kind of a mess. But we're up now, so
Cool.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it is
yeah.
way cool. I'm so happy. Good job, Peggy. I
Sure.
mean, this is something.
No, well, thank you for bugging SoundCloud because I think they finally were like, "Fine, here's your stupid RSS feed."
Yeah. Well, and then,
Like, keep bugging them, Scott.
when they said, well, we listened to it and we like it, I was like,
Oh,
oh,
good.
okay, yeah, so, yeah. And
Right
so,
on. I didn't know it was quality based. I thought it was just.
I don't know. I didn't know that
Yeah.
either.
I think they're
Approve it
only
first?
giving RSS. Yeah, they're only. You have to apply to be part of the podcast
Wow.
beta.
It's a beta because
So-
they haven't. I think they're working. They're in. They have to prove themselves to
You
iTunes.
must be getting like just a bunch of junk people like
Probably.
pocket calling people and recording it or something.
right,
Who knows?
right.
There
Or
are
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
white
really
noise,
bad
a lot of white
podcasts.
noise static.
Oh,
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Or it sounds like a bad sci-fi tuning in.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
Like,
radio.
yeah.
Nice.
They're getting the demonic messages through the
Yeah.
static. You know.
Right
Nice.
on, yeah.
But the best thing for our listeners, if you really like the podcast, tell a friend, subscribe just like if you have a work computer, subscribe through your work computer too.
Right.
There you go.
Add a
Yeah.
5-star review. Like we're in this phase where like we have enough listeners.
Go to the library and log on.
Totally
and subscribe.
Right.
I actually, full disclosure, have SoundCloud accounts on both my work and home phone, and have subscribed through both because like we're at this tipping point where it's like we've got enough that we're getting a little traction,
Right.
but we need like just a little bit more to really start like we need some 5-star reviews on iTunes because that's how they use their recommended.
Right.
If you get a certain number of 5-star reviews, then you become a recommended podcast,
Right.
and so that's really the next goal for me.
So it shows up
Trying to get to that.
like it becomes in their featured.
Yeah,
They just have to click 5-star. They don't have to like write a review or anything.
I don't think so. Or you can just say, cool, like it, 5 stars. I think it's mostly based on the star rating. I don't think you have to say anything. I think you can, but you don't have to. But that would be awesome because, when you go to like comedy podcasts, certain ones show up. And, for the egalitarians out there, they are all, if you look at them, from mainstream media. So, like, you got the NPRs,
Right.
you got the, the radio show from New York and the radio shows on, in big mass media markets who podcast it. So really it's like not original internet content necessarily. And then you have like celebrity-based stuff, which
Right.
makes sense. But like, to me, the internet's
You
all
also
about
have
grassroots
DJs
things.
and
You
people
do.
that put out music information
Music,
too,
yeah.
which podcasts are a great source for that, especially
Totally.
DJs.
Yeah.
Because I listen to a lot of electronic music, and I get a lot of it through that way too.
Totally. On a totally unrelated note, do you know what electronic music I've decided I love?
Ooh, there's a lot out there. Do you know?
The music on Candy Crush on the app on your phone. I'm not kidding. Download Candy Crush.
Okay.
It's almost like emo techno.
How fast does it go? Fast or
No, it's really slow. I'll listen.
Yeah,
I'll play it for you
it's-
later.
it's-
I
okay.
really dig it though. Sometimes I just like let the game play for a minute because it's like ambient,
It's
but
very
it's almost
hypnotic.
hipster-y.
It's
Okay.
hypnotic too. It's
Yeah.
like it's
So Probably
It's
like
lazy
Psytrance
almost.
then or something. but-
It's interesting. I'll have to play it for you, and you can tell me what you
Okay.
think. But I noticed the other day, I was like, I actually think I like this game more because the music is so nice.
That is part of it. It is
Yeah.
very part. That's a game I can't ever play again because it's
You
again,
burned yourself out on it.
Do you play the Adult Swim games at all?
No, I haven't in a super long time.
huh.
I played something on it like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but
Okay.
I haven't played it.
Because they have this Rainbow Unicorn game.
Oh, I did play
that. Plays
that.
Erasure in the background.
I think
I
you
love that
actually
game.
showed that game to
Oh,
me because
yeah?
I have played
Huh.
that game.
Yeah, I guess it's probably about 3 years old now.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So
haven't
yeah,
played any of those
please give us a 5-star rating on
Yeah.
iTunes. Please, tell a friend, whatever, because we're in it for the long haul.
We'll have shirts and merchandise soon. So
Yeah,
that
that's
true.
should help.
We're working on it for sure.
We're fast approaching becoming a business and a brand.
And actually,
so.
coffee mugs. How do you not do
Oh,
that?
totally.
I mean,
That's true. I didn't even think of that.
I have a hookup on getting shirts printed too.
Right on.
I just
cool.
I won't say who they are until I get the okay to say who they are.
We also have
I
a
work
hookup.
for a screen printing shop.
Oh,
if
do you
that's
really?
Any more of a
Oh
hookup.
man, this is now we oh you know what?
We've got a
Start
lot of
bidding
hookups.
war now. Okay,
Oh, that's
cool.
I
No,
have
no,
a
you
hookup
do it. You do it. It's
on
fine.
mental health services.
Are you the owner or are you the?
I work for I'm an art director.
Uh-huh.
So more of an art technician than an art creator.
Okay.
I basically make sure that what art is given is going to be feasible on a shirt. Then I handle the separations and the sizing and the proofing and all that stuff. And printing films.
We actually met my wife at a silk screening company
wow. Oh,
back
cool.
in '90s.
Nice.
In the '90s.
Huh. Right on.
It's
Which one?
A little company called Sun Sportswear.
Sounds sportswear. I think I've heard of them.
Yeah, they got bought out
Yeah.
in like '97 or '96
Okay.
or something like that by a company, and they tried to move them to the East Coast back
Huh.
then. They moved them to Cincinnati,
Yeah.
Weird.
and which it was really weird because they had this amazing facility, which I liked working there. I quit for some reason. I think I was chasing more money, but it was a fun company to work for. Really fun, and
Awesome.
it was a top of the line facility. I mean, they had
cool.
trolleys and stuff. They had,
Wow.
they had an area they called packaging and ticketing, and then
Sure.
they would package up the finished product. And they had 2 levels, and they had a trolley system, and you'd hang them on these. And I would ride the trolleys all the time.
Oh,
I'd run and jump in, grab the trolley, go shooting through like a roller coaster.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Did they do contract or custom or both? Do you
They
know?
used to have their own brand back in the 80s and 90s called Rude Dog.
Okay.
It was a surfer
I
type.
remember Rude Dog.
And it
yeah.
had a cartoon
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah, that was the brainchild of the I can't remember the owner's name, but that was their big thing, and they got really huge back then.
Cool.
They grew really fast, and then they got
Crazy.
into licensing with Looney Tunes, and they didn't do any like major like athletic thing like no Adidas or Nike or anything like that, but they wanted to. And then I think they got mainly wrapped up with Walmart, and that was their biggest
Okay.
client, and
Sure.
that might have been,
Those
in my opinion, a start
big
of their
retail
Yeah, it was the start of their
can
demise.
make or break you though, because what they'll do is they'll order a bunch of stuff, and then they won't pay, and they won't pay, and they won't pay, and they won't pay,
Yeah.
and then you're just screwed. So,
That
Yeah.
sucks.
They had their own brand too. They came out with called Guts.
huh.
That was Target. It was very.
Huh.
It was. They were trying to get to the hip hop thug,
Okay.
the saggy jeans, and that's back when everybody was wearing the baseball,
Right.
jerseys.
Yeah.
And they did that line, and then.
Crisscross and wear it backwards.
Right, and then then they started doing even lazier. They were just printing the jersey on a shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
pretty
I
much
saw
like printing a
those.
tux.
Like, really?
Oh, come on, just buy a jersey.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Scott, did you want to talk about upcoming guests?
Yeah, I have another guest lined up. It's actually the band we went and saw this last Friday night,
Cool.
Sky Pilot. They just finished a 2-week tour of the West Coast. They went they went as far south as San Diego and then back. So
cool.
I think they went. Well, I'll have them tell us about the tour and what the areas that they've seen,
Right on.
and they're really jazzed about it. And
Very
they're an up and coming band.
Yeah,
They're-
I see posters for them all over Capitol Hill.
Yeah, they're good. I like them. They're kind of, to me, they're a little bit like they're kind of Rage Against the Machine style.
Huh, okay.
And there's
Do
a
they
three.
have a DJ?
They do actually.
They do? Who doesn't, huh?
Well, what they do, his name. He's a tall beanpole. This guy is, but he's really cool. His name's Kyle.
Right.
What they do is they record all their instruments in studio, and then they play a backtrack.
Oh, that's cool.
And the only instrument they have live is a drum kit. Now,
Weird.
recently they've had guest appearances, like from people from other bands come up there and join them, like
Oh, cool.
sing, and then they had a guitarist, which is the first time I've ever seen him with a guitarist. And we went and saw him at the Showbox this last Friday night, which was the first time I've ever been in the Showbox, the Showbox Market.
Oh,
Have you ever been in there?
Which
It's
one?
the market.
Is that the one
In
south?
Georgetown?
It's in by Pike Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
Gotcha.
Soda one I've never been into. I've been,
Yeah, we
that
went
one's
to the soda one. So
that one's going away. They're tearing it down
Oh.
because the whole area got bought up for the arena. That was part of
yeah.
my company. Actually owns the warehouses that got sold. That was like
Oh, whoa.
that little 2 acre. I think it's not even 2 acres.
So what are they building?
A stadium. Or
For
going to-
what?
For a basketball team.
Basketball.
We're not
Oh, great.
Yeah, Microsoft money got together, didn't it? Or
getting. No,
No
a
idea.
venture
Different.
capitalist from California. Actually,
Crazy.
Oh, okay.
he went to school here in Washington.
Oh.
He's a UW alum,
Huh.
I think. But I know he went to school here, and he's a billionaire.
So they're
all I
trying
know.
to get an NBA team, and so they're building a big old
Yeah, they're
thing.
building arena.
Okay.
And they're trying
That's
to get a hot.
just what they need in that part of town, because I don't think there's enough traffic with the baseball stadium and the football stadium.
It's just a matter of time. Everything just kind of grows out.
I know,
Unless you're
I'm
Detroit.
just teasing.
There-
Unless you're Detroit.
There's actually-
Let's avoid being Detroit, you guys.
There's actually-
Let's really work on
that
that.
area, once they get that tunnel built and stuff, it'll be nice.
it'll be
So,
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
it's
actually-
just right now I never go to that part of town because it's a hot mess.
really.
Well, when there's an event going
right
on.
an event, but other than that, it's pretty nice.
Yeah,
What
it's
are they going
fine.
to do with the Key Arena then?
I don't
Just
know.
scrap
Is
it?
that what it is
No.
now? Burn it down?
Well,
I have
who
no
knows? Yeah.
That was just a remnant of the 1962 World Fair, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
can't go anywhere because it's a historic landmark now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you
So
know
that's
so much
why-
about this
concerts
subject.
and-
It got rebuilt back in the 90s, I say.
The Storm needs someplace to play, right? I'm sorry.
Right. Well, and they do hockey in there too sometimes.
Okay.
Oh,
Sure.
right on.
So
I like hockey.
I do too, but I end up losing the puck too much.
Yeah,
I like
it
it
is
for
hard.
the fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
pretty much the.
So
It's like I like car races too, but really I like car
well,
crashes.
yeah, you want to see the crashes.
Yeah.
But this was, I'm actually disappointed. There was no carnage. Yeah. So
I like gymnastics too, but I really no, you're right.
I just like watching people breaking bones. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they're trying to build a stadium down there. But anyway, about the we
Yeah.
went to the Showbox and seen. Now, Skypilot, they categorize themselves as a hip hop band, but they're not really. They're more like a fusion,
Right on.
hip hop and rock, and it's just 3 white guys that got together. The older one, he's actually his name's Brian. He's been in a band before, so he's the veteran of the group. And they all 3 went to the same high school, so it's kind of really
Nice.
cool that they're local, but they're of different ages. Like Kyle and Preston, who are they're the same age, and they went to a huge school, and it's kind of cool that they came back together and they share the same the common interests and whatnot. And then
Totally.
we've seen, being at the Showbox is the first time I was ever there, and there was a really good lineup of bands. And the venue makes all the difference to me now, because I've been to places where it's not so good of a venue,
Yeah.
and so the sound system kind of
Right,
sucks, and
right.
the acoustics aren't there. And so the band is a lesser for it. Even
Oh,
though
for
if they're
sure.
a good band, they just
Oh yeah,
they
it
just
sounds
like-
everything.
right.
Totally.
But a good sound person should be able to go into any environment and get it.
You know, I
set it
feel
up.
like maybe there aren't good sound people then, because I feel like every time I go to see shows, like
Oh yeah, I've been to some horrible sounding shows.
just awful, like really bad sound, and it's almost like too loud that it's distorted, and I'm
Right.
like, how can you be sitting in a sound booth and not hear that your speakers are distorting the sound? Why don't you turn
Because
it
it's
down
a
a little
balance.
bit and then we
What-
can hear it better?
What a lot of sound well, I don't know. I guess from what I understand about sound is the louder you go, the less bass you got to cut out, because the bass is going to override it. So it's a
Okay.
balance. It's like the higher the decibel, the more
Yeah.
treble you got to replace.
Right.
Because I always feel like the bass is too loud too.
Yeah, so they're not cutting the bass as the levels go up. And as a DJ and playing parties, that's
Yeah.
always
Right.
make sure to cut some of the bass out if you're going super loud.
Yeah,
Right.
because among friends, the trick is to wear earplugs when you go, because then it'll like filter the distortion, and then I'm like, we are actively trying to hear less of the thing we are paying to go see. They could just turn the sound out a little bit. And I
Yeah.
went to the Moore Theater once, and we sat way up in the balcony, and at that distance, it was like just total nonsense
What
happening.
probably
Like,
also
it
is
was
happening
terrible.
is clipping is occurring somewhere in the
Yeah.
chain. So one part of where they're plugged into is too loud.
Yeah.
So you got to turn it all the way down until you get to your amp, and then crank it. And then
Yeah.
it sounds good. But if you're clipping at any part, then you're going to get that
Right.
distortion.
Totally. And that drives me crazy. Like, I really... Anyway. It to me makes me not want to go to live shows because the sound is almost always terrible.
Yeah.
But you're saying that the showbox was
It
really
was
good,
really
right?
good, yeah. And they had 5 bands, and it was the best. Probably, I mean, at the door was $15, but I bought mine in advance because I know the guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was $12.50, so 5 bands for $12.50.
Yeah, you can't
not
beat that.
bad, yeah.
Totally.
Sure.
Yeah, and
Right on.
Matter of fact, they're playing Hempfest today. Sky Pilot is
very
there to be at
nice.
Oh, wow.
Hempfest. Yeah.
Fun. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
they're really involved in the legalization.
The weed community.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. And normal and all that
Yeah,
good stuff.
it's a lifestyle. I mean,
It is.
you know, and
I think it's funny because, of course, it's called Hempfest because of the history of trying to like legitimize cannabis. And now that it's legal, I think we should just come out and go, it's the weed party, and
Right.
like promote it out and make it like a destination travel spot
I don't
for
know.
people from other states. Just because I think we should like wave the flag and
Right.
you know.
I think everybody's afraid to rock that
I know
boat
they totally
because
are.
there's-
Even
this-
though the police have come out and said like we will not
Yeah,
prosecute
Washington
you.
police won't.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
once them federales get involved,
right, the
Federales.
it's all
The
over.
DEA, yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
dumb.
I do.
It's weird because the federal law is supposed to uphold the laws of the state. Not,
Oh, yeah. No,
they're
no,
not
they're
supposed, they're not supposed to
is a
supersede.
Yeah.
dubious word,
Right.
but they do whatever they do, really.
Yeah.
But I do these like government or political, what do you call them? Surveys that are for like pollster kind of things. I do it for free movie tickets,
Oh,
Right.
which
yeah.
I've now gotten like I think 12 free movie tickets, and I've been doing it for like 2 years. So like every couple of days I get an email that's like, oh, tell us your opinion on this subject. And I got one right after we legalized about whether you think the federal government should prosecute, which law should supersede? Should it be the federal regulation of it, or should it be the decriminalization of it that the states have imposed? And I was like, oh,
That's
at
really
least they're
easy.
asking the question.
Right.
I know, for me it was like,
Well,
we should be able to do what we voted on doing. Plus,
Right.
we didn't vote on the law that criminalized it. So
Right.
clearly,
Well-
if you're voting on the decriminalization and it's passing, there are people who disagree with this law. So anyway, to me, I was like, yeah, you're spending way too much money on a federal level prosecuting
Oh, yeah,
drug
it's a big racket.
crimes.
It's a
Like, why
big-
don't we put it into something useful, like mental health care for the homeless?
I just want them.
yeah.
I want the money they use to lobby against it. That's all I want. You know, the what is it? The big pharma and the tobacco industry and the alcohol industry.
Yeah. Well, and the manufacturing industry to a degree as well, especially when hemp and plastic
Oh
were
yeah,
at that. I mean,
wasn't that like the
the
first
big reason why it
instigator?
got
yeah.
Was
illegalized.
manufacturing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they didn't want the hemp to be a manufacturing competitor.
Totally.
So-
Which I think is the roots of Hempfest too, right? It's
Right. It's to
like
bring-
look at all the things you can do with hemp
'Cause
other
you
than
can-
smoke it.
Hemp oil you can use to make petroleum.
Yeah.
I mean, we could grow our own grass and not have it be corn.
It's true, totally.
The shirts we wear, the shoes we wear, the
Hair products.
you're right. I've eaten hemp seed. I've eaten hemp seed,
Alex.
and
Yeah, it's-
I've had hemp milk.
The protein is on par with peanuts as far as
Yeah, and
Totally. It's a really, really useful
and
plant.
it's a weed. It just
It grows almost without even trying.
It grows in harsh climates. It grows. It just grows.
Yeah.
It's,
And it's super fast renewable. It's like on par with bamboo in terms of forestation.
You
So
can-
like you can flip a crop super fast.
It
It's
can
really
replace carbon fiber too, because carbon fiber is very caustic to make because it's
right.
because the chemicals involved in it. But you can actually make panels and stuff out of it. You can
That's
make
cool.
paper. It's so versatile.
I know.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I forget what I was going to say.
I was going to say
Go
politically,
ahead.
I guess I'm more inclined to say that the government shouldn't dictate behavior more than
Right.
incentivize consequences.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you do something to your body or whatever that's not harming someone else, then they shouldn't care. They shouldn't, don't
Yeah.
dictate behavior.
Totally.
Is the whole thing. And I think that, controlling drugs that we put in our body is dictating behavior.
I
Right.
agree.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
That was my...
Totally. No, I completely agree with that. But that's the whole, the role of government issue where, I end up on the libertarian side of it, which ironically then, there's this whole, self-determination concept in politics that I think, no party does well, because the people who should have the most self-determination have these weird things except for things like abortion or stuff that I'm like, oh no, that is number one on my list. How come you make an exception for that but not for drug use or to me it's no one thing really goes you know what, anything that doesn't harm another person you are free to do.
Have you looked into anarcho-capitalism?
No. Anarcho-capitalism?
Yeah, it's like anarchy, but
Okay.
it's like a capitalistic anarchy kind of
Okay.
Yeah, unless you get into the anarchies, you're really
Yeah.
not going to find anything that doesn't...
Right. And, in my opinion, anarchy groups or, philosophies don't accomplish anything, and they are just a bag of people shouting at each other. And then to me, I go, oh, well, this is not only are you not going to get anything done, but, I don't even know what you want to do, so I'm going to go over here where they're at least doing something, and then try to be hey, maybe we should make everybody free to do what they choose.
Well, as long as you're not, harming somebody else.
Yeah,
what's the big deal?
Ugh, I agree. Isn't that the truth? But really, people have a really hard time with that. Even just on an interpersonal level, the fact that someone else can do something that is irrational to you drives people crazy.
I think it's a control thing.
Oh, totally.
It's just all about they want a superior sense that this is how things should be, and that's their problem, really.
I know. And I think that's some of the source of people's most biggest difficulties in life is letting go of needing to go, oh, this person's acting this way, all I can do is respond to it. I can't change the way they behave.
They're
there's
not raping
so much.
somebody. Okay, sorry to bring that around.
Totally. And I laughed. It was funny. It was a callback.
I'm not getting raped by this happening.
I know,
okay, all right,
okay, well,
yeah.
then let it go. Let them do what they're doing. All I can do is control my own response to it. Yeah. But man, that no, I was just going to say, if I could tell you how many, because my job involves a group of people who all live in a similar area, the amount of people who come in to try to get me to get someone else to change their behavior, nearly 100%,
Wow.
probably 98% of the conversations I have with people are, well, you're the social worker, so why can't you get this other person to change what they're doing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what? I can't get you to change what you're doing, so how can I get them to change what they're doing?
Right.
If we're going to start changing stuff, why don't you look at yourself first?
Being a referee at a food fight,
Oh,
right?
it totally is. But then they go, oh, and then I'll usually bring up a few things I've been trying to get you to go to this group therapy thing and you won't go to that. And then they're like, oh, and usually I just do that to redirect them because then they'll get distracted and forget about the first thing. But really, I'm like, I'm not the roommate police. I'm not the, you have to behave because I'm your mom. I'm a mental health worker.
Right.
And then
But
they're
you should be worried if there are people like that.
yeah,
Because
totally. Because nobody wants that.
It's like you're an adult. Let's try to make that work.
Yes,
This
totally.
Is not high school.
It's
continued.
not a jail. It's not a hospital.
Yeah.
It is a
Right.
independent living facility. It drives me totally crazy. But that's a higher level thinking thing that a lot of my friends have hard time with. How do I get my husband to change this?
Wow.
No,
You don't.
really, you don't.
You adapt to it.
You respond
or you
differently,
find else
or
things
you
to do.
Yeah, totally.
Huh.
Change the way you respond
yeah.
to it. Maybe
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all you have control over.
Well, that
I find I've learned that's a lesson I've learned myself. But, this person is bugging me. Well, what can I change about myself so that person doesn't bug me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, just look at it differently.
Or if you
Totally.
want to take that a little higher,
All right.
what is it about you that you don't like about yourself
Exactly.
that brings
What
that
it-
up? Because
right.
if it really
Right.
didn't bother you about yourself, it wouldn't bother you about them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So,
it's
but
the
that's
mirror.
that's an even step higher, though.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's the
tough
mirror.
to-
It's that what people bring out the worst in you because there's something that they're mirroring about you. You know?
Right, or something that's
Yeah.
still in there
Or-
that bothers you about
Right.
yourself.
Or a pattern that you played out
Right.
throughout your life that they're repeating,
Sure.
and that you are constantly trying to get a different outcome through repeating the same pattern. Like, yeah, it's really, I mean, and that's what therapy is all about. That's why, people spend their life going like, how come when this happens I always feel this way? Like, how can I change that cycle? And most of the time people are thinking like, well, it's this other person, but really you're the only part of that cycle you can control.
Isn't
Right,
that
oh,
the
for sure.
definition of insanity? Just basically, asking the same question but expecting a different answer. every
Yeah,
time?
totally.
Yeah.
It's true. So,
yes.
we were supposed to interview Rick today, and that did not happen, but
I was involved. You got a little bit of me.
it's true.
Well, we learned about him through osmosis.
There we
almost.
go.
We
Right on.
kind of got him
Sure.
out. We know that he works for a silk screen company. We
There
know
we go.
he's married.
Can I say something
Alex
else
is here?
about me, though?
Yes.
Then it's coffee related?
No, we've got like 6 or 8 more minutes left,
Oh.
so you can say a few things
Okay,
about
cool,
yourself.
cool. All
We're
right.
okay.
Well, I don't drink coffee,
Oh, that's true.
and it's not because I was raised Mormon or anything.
Rick was in fact raised Mormon.
Yeah, well,
Which tells-
kicking
anyway.
and screaming. But at any rate, long story short, I get heartburn when I drink coffee, so I stopped it, and job done. So,
Totally.
but I've learned that I can't moderate with certain substances. Like I quit smoking in '99
Oh, good for
after
you.
smoking for like about 14 years. Which, yeah, every time I look at a pack of cigarettes and the price, I'm like, yeah, way good for me.
Totally. Oh my
Anyway, not to get
gosh.
on a tangent. But, so coffee, and by the way, pumpkin lattes were my favorite. I do a pumpkin eggnog
Yum.
mixture. Oh, it's
Ooh,
the best.
That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
Like
So-
25,000
Oh,
calories.
for
too.
sure.
Heaven
Yeah, it
of
was,
delightfulness.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Of pure heaven. That does sound good. No,
It does.
It's jamming.
Like,
You could probably cut that down with some skim milk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll have a skim, pumpkin, eggnog, crack.
Do you have any vodka you can put in
right,
it?
right.
No. Crack.
So, anyway, that's just something about me that I wanted to add.
Yeah.
And,
That
an
even though
earmark,
we
but-
have a somewhat coffee-themed podcast,
Yeah, and I'm
you're
not
not
anti-coffee.
drinking
I'm
coffee.
not a proponent for people quitting coffee. It's not, you're not going to kill yourself because you're drinking coffee or nothing. It just
It's true.
physically doesn't work for me, and
Yeah.
it's neat that I am not killing myself.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it would interrupt my sleep. It'd be like
Ugh,
imagine
I hate
the
that.
only way I can describe it would be battery acid shooting reverse up into your nose.
Totally.
Oh, no.
And yeah, it was horrible. And
acid reflux.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's
So-
good, though. I had that last summer for a while and thought that I was getting an ulcer because it was really, really bad. And then I was actually listening to a Dr. Drew podcast, and he said something about naproxen, which is Aleve, and how it causes acid reflux. And I was like, what? And I went
wow.
and looked at my medicine cabinet, and I had been taking Aleve. And actually had been taking more Aleve because
Because
of
of
the acid reflux.
Oh,
So I threw the bottle away, and I had
Just
only
throwing
bought it.
gas on the fire.
Totally.
There.
I had only bought the Aleve because it was on sale. And so I got rid of it, got some ibuprofen, have never had it again.
See,
was awesome.
I take that naproxen for it's
Yeah.
for my neck, and I end up my stomach hurts.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Okay.
and then if I drink on top of it, it really hurts
Oh, I'm
because
sure.
alcohol
Oh,
helps strip all that
sure.
Totally.
protection. So yeah, I know what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I was so pissed because I had spent, I went out and got Pepsid, I went out and got all these things, and then I was like, I'm so mad
see,
that,
that-
it didn't even have, on the warning label, it didn't say anything
That's
about
part-
it.
Oh, wow.
I was
Huh.
like, really?
That's part
Made
of
me
the
so mad.
the chemicals that we take to help
Yeah.
us feel better, but
Sure.
there's
Cause another problem.
I'd rather
Yeah.
have the weed to do it. I'd rather
Yeah, or do something naturally so that your
Totally.
body,
Right,
your body's
right.
designed to fix itself,
Yeah.
right.
regardless of what substance it's trying to counteract.
Yeah.
It's still.
I take that a little too far, and
you-
sometimes I'll feel like crap, and I will be miserable for maybe a day, and then I'll think, oh, why don't I take some ibuprofen and I'll take it and then I'll feel better? And I'm like, why did I wait a whole day with this headache? Or
I would like to do a segment on just
I'm
just
so slow to medicate.
Just an entire episode of side effects from medication.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I mean, I like it when
think of a bunch
they're
more.
introducing a new drug into and the side effects may include,
Death.
liver failure, like
You could
Derangement.
probably bring random people in on the podcast and say, okay, what's your bad experience with whatever medication? And they'll have a story for
the reason
Oh,
why they have to
totally.
list that because it's happened. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With the drug testing, it's like, and it says it may even death may even occur.
Right.
So that to me is like, oh, well, that's the ultimate cure of whatever's ailing you. You're dead. You don't have to. You don't have to.
Seinfeld's got a maximum strength bit that he does. Find out what's going to kill me, and then back it off a little bit. That's hilarious.
Right? Just
Maximum
So
strength.
funny. Maximum. Any more than this, you're dead.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much.
Oh my gosh. I had a friend in high school who was taking just like an obscene amount of Advil or something. And I was like, I don't think you should be taking that much. And she's like, no, my gymnastics coach said that that if it's expired, you can take as much as you want or something. And I was like, I don't think that's a real thing.
That's medical advice from a gymnastics coach. I had
my
actually cousins of mine who actually they overdosed on Tylenol one time.
Oh yeah,
They
because
were
that can mess
young
your
kids.
liver up big
Yeah,
time.
they were young kids, and they took 3 or whatever, way
Yeah.
too much than they were supposed to. Well, that made them sick, so they thought, well, more. And they were probably like, I want to say I did not mean little. They were like maybe early teens, 13
Yeah.
or 14. Well, the doctor took it as I think they took it as like a suicide attempt too, because they had to have their stomach pumped and stuff.
That's sad.
But
Ooh,
I didn't know
scary.
that Tylenol can actually liquefy your liver.
Yeah,
It's just-
it can kill you.
yeah.
Well, and that's why, the stereotypical suicide thing is like taking a bottle of Tylenol. That's that'll put you in the hospital way before it'll
painful
kill you.
way.
Evidently not if it's expired, though.
Right.
No,
Go for it. Go hog wild. I got a whole bottle here.
Yeah, it's 2 years old. Boy, Doc, so this was 07.
Oh my gosh, that
It's
reminds
like-
me of a story from our family, which is that my dad would buy the Costco size medications. Do you remember this?
I
I don't know if
think
this
so.
is
Huh.
maybe when you were out of the house and older, but I remember going to the cabinet and getting out the mayonnaise jar size bottle of vitamin C or niacin, which
frills.
my dad thinks niacin cures all ailments.
What is niacin?
It's a vitamin, and if
okay.
you have any problem, he'll be like, "Why don't you just break a niacin in half?" Okay.
You have to take it with a certain combination of
Yeah.
things. The B's are really tricky.
Yeah.
You can't just take B and be fine.
Oh, I'm
It's,
sure Dad's. It's totally his snake oil.
Oh, okay.
But specifically for
And
canker
it was
sores, he's always
MSM for a while,
handing
too.
out.
He's all about that
right.
MSM.
Yeah.
What's MSM?
Okay, Dad.
I used to know what
Oh, okay.
it's like a vitamin kind of
Okay.
thing. They put it in. It used to be with
It's like for arthritic
for
joints.
arthritic stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh, why can't I think of it? But they found that it doesn't work now.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Chondroitin, glucosamine
yeah,
and
yeah.
chondroitin.
Okay.
You'd
Totally.
see MSM with that mixture
Okay.
a lot. I don't know. It's just like this wonder thing that cures everything, according to some people.
Like our dad.
yeah.
But he would
Placebo.
have these
Could be, I
huge
don't know.
Yeah.
bottles of
There's a lot to that.
things, and then I'd open up, take a Tylenol and look at it, and it expired 3 years previous, and I was like, whatever.
Hey, you never know.
Expired
I
Tylenol.
wonder. Yeah.
Because the bottle's so giant, how could
Right,
you
how are
ever...
you going to get to the bottom
Yeah.
of that? I mean, unless you're giving it out as gift bags. I mean, it's like
Yeah, Halloween comes around.
it's like a door prize every time you have a barbecue. Everybody gets a
Kid
bag of
comes up,
Tylenol.
hey, you got any canker sores? I got some niacin. There you go. Shake some into the
That and
bag.
some candy corn, and you're set.
Or they can put it out, like the old people have the ribbon candy and the
Oh yeah,
Oh, for sure.
that was Grandma Hurson.
Grandma
It was
Hurson.
all about
Yeah.
the ribbon candy.
Yep,
You grab one and
totally.
the whole thing comes with it because they're all stuck together.
Yeah, our grandma used to have that. She also was, I have all these foods associated with Grandma Hurson's house. Goldfish crackers, Hydrox cookies, the cereal mix where it was just a canister with like 10 kinds of cereal mixed
Diet
together.
Chocolate
Diet
soda.
chocolate soda.
The worst.
She had like a full fridge in the basement full of all off-brand soda.
There's a reason
Weird
why
flavors.
it was on sale.
Totally. Well, we're about out of time. So I just wanted to remind everyone to tell a friend, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube. We're always on SoundCloud.
Look for a logo soon.
Look for logos soon. And
I think
any other info?
I had an idea about having like
Good, I'm
like our
glad.
first live get together as like a celebration to getting on iTunes, because to me that's a huge deal.
Yeah, it
getting on iTunes.
feels very
I know-
milestone-y.
Yeah, congratulations.
It is, and I have it's a little bit more farther south than this, but is a place that it's actually set up for like spoken word and like acoustic guitar, so they have a stage set up already. It's a small stage. Just have to go and find out if we can do it. I'm pretty sure they'll let us do it, and it doesn't cost us anything. It's free. It's actually it's a cultural center.
Oh, very
so
cool.
it's a non-profit too. It's called the Native Quest.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and
so for local people, we'll let you know when it's coming up, and we're going to kind of think about throwing a little party and inviting all our friends and family and do a live podcast and, kind of have a little celebration.
that way we don't have to, because right now asking and charging people to show up is a little, I think, a little putting the horse before the cart thing.
Oh, you should, though. It's fun. They don't bite.
Well, the only thing,
I bite sometimes.
Only thing I'd have them do is like invite them, show up, have the place to hang out would be free, but they just have to buy their coffee.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And stuff.
That seems
It'd be
fun.
non-alcoholic because it is a coffee shop.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think we're going to work on getting that going. So, great. Yay. Well, thanks for joining us again, Rick.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thanks for being our silent audience, Alex and Kenita.
And if you hear...
Alex is less silent than Kenita.
And if you're in Auburn, stop into Zola's and tell them you heard it on the from the coffee shop.
Great food.
Yeah.
Eclectic atmosphere.
There's a piano in front of the
small,
building.
Yeah,
it's
plays
very
piano.
exciting.
A sweet painting of a sugar skull on that piano, too.
Yeah,
Did you
it is
see that?
pretty cool out front.
Out front.
Totally.
It's really cool.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. This has been Peggy Hurson and Scott Clark and Rick Entrop from the coffee shop.
Bye-bye.
Huzzah!
Huzzah.